Hello everybody, welcome to round 7 of the MCE British Superbikes. We're at Oulton Park. It's a little bit damp, it's a little bit slippery. Anything could happen here, and based on what we saw 2 weeks ago at Snetterton, it'll probably end up as a battlefield.
Makes a move through on the inside of Tommy Hill, going through Richards, coming on wide. This is some sizzling contest. It's Hopper who wins again.
John wants it really bad, I want it really bad.
Oh, is that Tommy Hill? I think he is. Oh, what is that? Good heavens.
That's big accident, that.
What a move! I love of a hook-digging contest. Here comes Hopkins. He fought it. Oh, he's put out Shaky Byrne on the ground. Extraordinary final lap here at Snetterton. It's Keogh who's going to take the race win for HM Blandon.
At the end of the day, we're racing for a championship. We're racing for points.
Well, it was a battlefield at Snetterton just a fortnight ago, and the rain is coming down here at Oulton Park. It promises to be a battlefield here as well. We are here in Cheshire for round 7 of the 12-round championship. We are officially past the halfway stage as we barrel towards the final 3 rounds, which take us to the showdown face-off. Here's how it lines up today. We're bringing you 8 races over something like the next 7 hours here this afternoon. We get things underway at 1 o'clock with the first MCE Insurance British Superbike race of the day. 2 o'clock, we head over to Donington for World Touring Car Race 2. We're back here at Oulton at 3:05 for the Sunoco British 125 GP Championship race. 10 to 4 for Fuchs Silkleen British Supersport Championship action. The racing from them this weekend has been stunning. Make sure you're around for that. Make sure you're also around at 25 to 5 for MCE Insurance British Superbikes race 2. 20 past 5 for the Metzler National Superstock 600 race. Then at 5 to 6 we'll bring you the Harley Davidson XR 1200 trophy race. And fear not, MotoGP fans, because we, like you, will be hanging on to see round 9 of the championship, the German GP from the Saxon Ring, and that's at 6:30. It follows us. Right, before we get underway then with the Superbikes, let's take a look at the standings going into this round, and it is Shane Byrne who leads 19 points to good over John Hopkins. Tommy Hill, a still very strong 3rd place after his recent resurgence. Ryuji Kinari is 4th, and Laverty and Brooks Stacey out the top 6. Easton is still there, Stuart Easton still there, despite that horrific crash ages ago, but you can see down there too, Gary Mason. In 10th place on the MSS Colchester Kawasaki, Loris Baz on the Motorpoint Yamaha is 11th. Overall, James Westmoreland a somewhat distant 16th, but Alex Lowe's closing in on him on the MSS Colchester Kawasaki. Well, we are here at Oulton Park, and the rain is coming over in waves over us. We won't let that stop the action, so stay with us all afternoon. I'm joined by James Whittam, James Hayden and Jack Burnicle. Delighted as ever to have you out here with us, Jack, out of the commentary booth. And Jack, I'm going to come to you first because we've had 2 weeks since Snetterton 300, and the crash there between Steve Brogan and Simon Andrews was horrific.
It was possibly one of the worst we've ever seen. Thankfully, the guys are both here pushing one another around today. Brogy's even threatening to be racing at Brands Hatch in, what is that, 2-3 weeks' time? Yeah. It just goes to prove, Tony, something that you and I have always been amazed by. You can't keep these guys down.
Well, incredible that the guys are planning to be back, that Steve Brogan planned to be back that early. They've both suffered badly broken legs.
Yeah, absolutely. Brogan did more kind of dislocated shoulder and cracked bones, I think his ankle. But yeah, he's going to be all right. I spoke to him the Sunday night of Snetterton, and he said, yeah, one of them things, it was somebody else's oil, but, you know, I'm going to be all right. Actually, Simon Andrews not so lucky, got quite a bad fracture of the lower right leg. That's going to take a little bit more time to heal, but he's out of danger now, and he's here today getting pushed around like in a wheelchair, like Jack says. So yeah, it's all good.
Nice to take a positive from what could have been a very, very big negative. And James Hayden, we'll talk about positives. Race 2, Snetterton, that last lap between John Hopkins and Shane Byrne. Just positive upon positive for race fans.
Yeah, it was an absolute cracker. I mean, you can see how much all the guys want it. And, you know, it was a little bit cheeky. If you were shaky, you'd be a little bit unhappy. This is the move. Watch Hopkins. He comes from late. He's caught in 2 minds. Does it the last bit. Pushes Shane wide. Shane luckily keeps it upright, and I must say, I was very impressed with Shakey as well. It'd been easy in the spur of the moment to sort of said a few words, but he's just been very pragmatic about it. Said it's part of racing, just got on with it, and it's added a little bit of spice, another layer to the championship, and it's great to see.
Yeah, and you know what? When these guys, they're doing this all the time, you do make moves, it does go wrong. He was committed, he couldn't do anything about it once it started going wrong. And if it happens every weekend, yeah, you've got a problem. If it just happens occasionally, it's part of the job.
And you can't take that away.
No,
It's part of what we're doing. It's racing motorcycles, We need that.
You can take it away if you ride in a Dorna-controlled champion. And then bring in the stewards for a bit of argy-bargy. We're not like that. We absolutely love a bit of argy-bargy here in British Superbikes. Let's go and catch up then with one of the men you saw in those clips of the fairing, bashing action. That was Shane Byrne. James Whittam caught up with him yesterday to find out about his season so far.
Shane, things are going pretty well for you. You couldn't have wanted for much more than this coming back to Britain.
Yes and no. It's gone pretty good. We're happy enough, and it's gone all right. But I've cost myself a couple of times a podium place, maybe even a win. So I'm a little bit frustrated about that. But everyone's on the limit here, and you have to ride hard to be at the front. And to be at the front and be riding hard, you have to make mistakes now and again. And I've made a couple, but no, so far so good.
Were you surprised at the level when you came back to BSB? Did you know what to expect, or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the great thing about BSB though is that the bikes are all kind of similar, aren't they? There's not anything that's like head and shoulders above what everybody else is on. So.
Which you felt you didn't have in World Superbike.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's only a couple of bikes in there that are going to win races, and that's just how it is, But fortunately, here at the moment, it's a little bit more of a level playing field. So you as a rider can make up the difference, and if you're consistent every weekend, then you're going to be somewhere near the sharp end. So HM Plant on the team's giving me a good bike pretty much every weekend, and so far so good.
We're coming up to the point of the season where it's the cut-off, we're going into the shootout, thoughts turning towards that, you're locked in. I mean, there's no way you can not be in that. So podium credits, I guess, are your main kind of priority now.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. You'll know the same as me. As a rider, you feel like you do the best job for the course of the year, and you deserve to be champion. But
or close to it at least.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a bit of a breathing space. But as it stands, we're going to go into round 9 with everybody on 500 points plus their podium credits, and the guy that comes through in 6th place might be the guy that ends up champion. And you think, flipping out, I've done all that hard work for nothing. But we'll push as hard as we can for the rest of the season. And hopefully, be number 1 at the end anyway.
I've got to ask you about the Snetterton incident, let's call it, with John Hopkins. I thought you were very diplomatic, really, was the word. For me, it was a little bit kind of an harsh move. He doesn't do it all the time, so you can't really, it's something that we'd all have a go at times, but I thought you were quite diplomatic there. You kind of kept your counsel, didn't you?
Do you know what? You know yourself, right? There's a split second when you decide that you're going to do something that from that split second it's not going to happen, right? And it's the worst feeling in the world, as you know yourself, because them sort of that second or whatever it is before you have the collision feels like 10 minutes, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to avoid it. So I don't think that any rider would put themselves deliberately in a position where they're going to have a collision. So it's one of them things that happens. Obviously I was disappointed not to take a win, because I thought we had a win in us, but John, like you said, doesn't do it every weekend, and hopefully that's not going to be the way that the championship's going to be won. But at the end of the day, if it is, then we'll just have to do the same. Yeah.
And after the finish, he actually knew it was in the wrong, didn't he? Because he was like a kind of a little sheepish kid.
Yeah, no, John's cool. We were friends before, and we're friends now. He come round to the motorhome afterwards and said sorry, and I accept his apology. And like I said, I don't believe that any professional rider will put themselves in that position where you're going to crash. Because none of us want to crash. It's dangerous enough as it is. So he made a mistake. I've made some this year, and it just happens, doesn't it?
Have a good weekend, Shane.
Thank you very much.
How nice it is to have a bit of common sense coming to the fore in motorcycle racing, as we always seem to have in the BSB Championship, and the riders basically sorting it out amongst themselves. John Hopkins, forever the gentleman. Well, not so much of a gentleman out on track, which we like very much. Right, let's take a quick look at the BSB standings then. Just to remind you of the battle for the top 6 going into the final 3 rounds this year. Shane Byrne it is who leads, of course, ahead of Hopkins. Tommy Hill in that 3rd place. Ryuichi Kinari 4th, coming strong on the HM Plant Honda. Ahead of Michael Laverty on the Swan Yamaha. And Josh Brooks is now in the top 6 after the last time out out of Snetterton. Josh Brooks found his way back up there. Here are the podium credits then. Remember, these get added to the flat score of 500 points over the last 3 rounds. And Shane Burnett is who leads currently. 3 wins, 1 second and 5 third places. He really ramped his points up there. He's had 16 overall. John Hopkins is in second with 15, so just 1 point behind Shane Byrne. Tommy Hill, a strong third with 13, and then Ryuji Kianari. You can see Stuart Easton there. He won't be taking part. He's out for the rest of the season after his Northwest crash. But you can see all the rest there down to Peter Hickman in 10th with 2, and Tommy Bridewell with 1. That's after his Brands Hatch outing. Jack, I want to talk to you about Tommy Hill, because he had that great outing at Knock Hill last month, goes out there, wins both races, storming return to form, goes to Snetterton, does okay, but then crashes. What do you make of his season so far?
Well, it's been a classic up and down season, but I think what we can say is that he's looking on cracking form here. Hopkins only managed to sneak pole position from him with his very final fling, and Tommy, I think, is going to be right in the mix here at Oulton Park. He was so fast before his accident here last time.
Yeah, don't forget, at Snetterton, the crash wasn't really of his making.
Exactly.
He was caught on the outside of a sort of domino effect.
He was very, very unlucky.
Yeah,
and he was so good here, wasn't he, at the start of the year before he got injured. This is the crash. He's the 3rd bike in the picture.
There you go.
And he just gets caught. My heart went out to him. It was just bad luck.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he's great round here. Super smooth, neat. I think he'll be one of the men we'll definitely have to watch.
I think so, yeah.
Confident as well as Tommy Hill here at Oulton Park. But another rider who's confident here, of course, is Ryuichi Kianari on the HM Plant Honda. Ryuichi Kianari here has been awesome in the past, James.
10 wins. I mean, the guy is Mr. Oulton Park, and he just, whether we say, he's such an enigma. You never quite know which one you're going to get. But on past form, you'd have to say a quick one.
He was very glum and monosyllabic and unbroadcastable when I had a word with him after Super Bowl yesterday.
I don't know what it sounds, I don't know what it means, that, Jab, but it sounds like he's not on good form to me.
And he qualified 5th.
What do you make of Ryuichi Kianari this season? Because last year, Kia was a bit on and off, the typical Ryuichi Kianari light switch here and there, but when we got into the showdown, the last 3 rounds, he upped his game.
The point is, last year, Ryuichi Kianari had a rough start to the season, then came good right when it mattered, and the way the championship points works now, played right into his hands. Is that going to happen this year? I don't know, but you will never bet against him here at Oulton Park on account of the fact that he's come here before and struggled, comes to race day and he can win, so you never bet against him.
Okay, I guess you never bet against Ryuichi Kianari at all at any point during the season. Michael Laverty, let's talk about Michael Laverty, Jack, because he had that massive crash at Brands Hatch, and then we go to Thruxton, and he is flying, but the Brands Hatch crash was a monster.
But very, very cool and very confident. You know how the Lavertys can have that about them. He's very like Eugene Laverty. That was the crash at Brands Hatch. But, we're a long way from that now, and he's obviously feeling that he can really play a strong part in the outcome here at Oulton Park today. Talking about the outcome today, can I just mention, apropos of Mr. Hopkins, that I was checking out my 1994 programme the first time I came out to Oulton Park to see a British Championship event. That was 17 years ago, and there was a Hopkins on the front cover. It was someone called Nicky Hopkins from Guernsey.
My teammate, actually, in '93, so I know the man himself. Are you saying that's some sort of precursor for what's going to happen this weekend?
Well, it could just indicate Hopper won his first race in 11 years here last time we were here.
I'll tell you what, if your research is going back 17 or 18 years, you're properly doing your job there, John.
God bless you, Jack. The anorak is there not just for the weather protection, and we love you for it. Let's just talk a bit more about Michael Laverty, though, because he went to Thruxton and he got that win, and that meant a lot to Michael, didn't it? That was almost underlining his own belief.
Yes, and he needs that, doesn't he? Because what we've seen from him on other occasions is that he has got away with the front riders and not always just been able to quite sustain that pace.
It's also worth noting that it was here, last year in jam conditions where he got his first ever Super Bike win.
Yes, it was.
So, that's something, again, it is tricky conditions, very similar conditions. He's third on the grid, so you wouldn't not count him out.
We've got the complete madness, Tony, where the sun was blazing down on us 2 minutes ago and it's still raining on us. So really, anything can happen. And what HM Plant Honda have said to Shaky Byrne is if we get one of those downpours we had during warm-up, don't feel you've got to win the race. We're more worried about the championship. Just take it. Just do as much as you feel you can without
bring it home
doing anything dangerous. Bring it home.
Tell you a rider who didn't worry too much about what happened out on track at Snetterton. That was Josh Brooks. Got that brilliant podium. He's been sort of knocking on the door of it all year, but a crash here and a crash there has denied him of that. Josh Brooks coming good.
Fastest in warm-up this morning in these dodgy conditions. that says something from the way he might go here. And also, and that was what happened to him at Oulton Park last time. Dear me, but of course now they've got an engine that gives him more bottom end. It's less of a screamer. It's perhaps less likely to do that to him.
Well, that was on the brakes, Jack, so I don't think whatever engine he's got is going to make a difference if he's going to do that again.
True. Thank you, James.
But yeah, you're right, he's coming good. I think he's suffered from a lack of confidence, couldn't afford to crash again, rode accordingly not to crash, and it's always a difficult position for a rider. A little bit of a sort of vicious circle. Do you try hard and risk crashing? Do you go around steady? It's a difficult place to be. But yeah, I think he has got a little bit of confidence back, and he was really quick in just these conditions this morning, like you say.
He's also now broken into that top six, the important top six already, only just. But that is critical, and it doesn't really matter what's happened so far as long as he can get himself in that, find the form, get the thing working. Because actually, he's been a bit disappointing so far in the year.
In terms of the championship, it's great to have Josh Brooks coming back strong.
It is.
Definitely.
Because we want a strong Brooks out there.
Yeah, exactly. He's a great rider. He's fun to watch. He's exciting to watch. We want him up there, but it's nice to actually see that starting to happen because it needs to.
That top six, Tony, have you noticed that you go back to Michael Rutter in 12th place?
Yeah,
from
12th.
8th place, which is Peter Hickman, down to Michael Rutter. They are all real contenders for that top
within
six.
20 points of that sixth place.
That is a big battle for the top six.
And Jack, it's interesting you bring Michael Rutter up here as the rain starts again on us, because Michael Rutter, known as a wet weather specialist, what do you think he could do here at Oulton Park?
Well, I think in these dodgy conditions, he's got to be another guy we can look at as a potential race winner. And he needs to pick up his game. He's had a pretty poor couple of rounds, Michael.
He has, 3 no-point scores in the last 2 rounds. So, he's lost a lot of points. But as Jack says, so tight there. You only need one guy to have a bad result, another guy to have a good. And it's only that last position, that 6th spot is up for grabs. And there's like 5 or 6 people battling for it. I mean, it's fascinating.
It is going to be absolutely fascinating. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll continue our build-up to MCE British Superlights Race 1 here at Oulton Park, and we have a qualifying tale or two to tell you. We'll see with that in a couple of minutes. Well, welcome back to Oulton Park. We're a few minutes away from the start of the first MCE British Superlights race of the day from here. And Oulton Park really is one of those truly great circuits, a wonderful track to ride, a great track to watch from as well, and it always provides plenty of action. Let's take a closer look at a fast lap of Oulton.
The first motorcycle race took place around here in 1953, and it's remained a favourite with the competitors and spectators ever since. The way this ribbon of tarmac follows the lumps, bumps and contours of the countryside makes it a real rider's circuit. If your bike's working well, it's lots of fun. If it's badly set up, it's like being stuck on a runaway roller coaster. The start and finish straight gives way to Old Hall Corner, and then down the avenue, steep downhill towards Cascades, on past Lakeside towards the Shell Oils hairpin, blasting out of there up towards Britain's Chicane, over Hilltop and down towards Hislop Chicane, Knickerbrook, and then up Clay Hill on towards Druids, and a short undulating blast up towards Lodge Corner, and then Deers Leap and on to the start and finish. This is the breathtaking Oulton Park up at Deers Leap onto the start and finish, 165 miles an hour, 5th gear at this point, braking hard down to 3rd, into the right-hander that is Old Hall Corner, accelerating hard, then onto the avenue, 4th, 5th gear, over the top, and then 150 miles an hour here, plunging downhill back to 3rd gear, 100 miles an hour for Cascades, and then accelerating hard out towards the curb, up to the box again. 4th, 5th gear, past Lakeside, heeling left into Island Bend, 120 miles an hour at this point, and they've got to get rid of about 50 miles an hour back to 70 miles an hour into the beautifully cambered Shell Oils hairpin. 70 miles an hour, 2nd gear, accelerating hard, watching for the rear end breaking loose as the camber drops away, and then into Denton Chicane, the slowest corner on the track, left, right, and then left again to Hilltop, 65 miles an hour, accelerating hard through the box, up to 3rd, and then 4th gear, holding it in 4th gear, against the rev limit, 155 miles an hour, then back 2 gears for Hislop Chicane, right-handed, and then throwing the bike left, and then right again for Knickerbrook, accelerating up, about 70 miles an hour at this point, and then hard on the power. 4th, 5th
gear, up Clay Hill, steep uphill, the bike wheelies as you crest the rise, and this is the fastest part of the track, believe it or not, 165 miles an hour before breaking back down to about 100 miles an hour for Drew. It's a double apex right-hander, a big crest coming out, watch the rear end, and accelerating hard. The last little bit of straight before Lodge Corner, breaking down to second gear, 80 miles an hour. Look out for last lap lunge at this point, and Dearsley once again right-handed, then throwing it left-handed, up over the top, the bike wheelies again, and accelerate hard towards the start and finish, and that's Oulton Park.
Well, there you go. That's a rider's eye view of Oulton Park. James Whittam was obviously doing the voiceover for that. Whit, Oulton Park, favourite one of yours to race?
Absolutely. I think he's a favourite one of everybody's. There's not that many circuits. You always like the circuits you go well at. If you get a win, you like the circuit.
Surprising,
yeah. But this is one of those circuits that you can actually enjoy riding round. Track days here are packed out because people want to ride the place. The way the track's laid out, up and down, it's a natural circuit. Not that many kind of modern chicanes, but there is a couple, but it still doesn't ruin it. It's just a lovely, lovely circuit to ride.
Flow is the order of the day.
Exactly.
Flow is the order of the day. And some riders who got on particularly well there were in qualifying were the top three.
Yep.
Michael Laverty, Swan Yamaha, storming.
Absolutely. Michael Laverty going really well, both the Swan boys. Tommy Hill sat in pole position, just waiting until literally 20 seconds to go. Yep, here we go.
This is Laverty.
This is Laverty, yep. And you know what, he's looked fairly confident all weekend as Laverty, really kind of smooth, and that's what it takes around here. And also, one of the things you need around this circuit is to get your bike set up. These guys got 210 brake horsepower under the right hand, and that's a lot. If that bike's not set up and working with you, you're kind of not going to go quick. You know, it's quite a frightening place if your bike's not working with you. Laverty's got his bike working perfectly from what I can see.
Well, we are hearing from race control that the race is actually delayed for a few minutes, so bear with us. You would expect that really with these conditions because it comes over dry, then it comes over wet, and you don't want that half and half. Not with the one bike rule, it's just going to be difficult for the guys.
Exactly, one bike rule, it doesn't take much of a slide off here. You can be perfectly uninjured, but yet your bike can have snapped a handlebar, got a bit of dirt in the engine or whatever, and that can put you right out if you haven't got a spare bike, which these guys haven't with the one bike rule. What I will say is it hasn't rained here for months, at least a month, and what tends to happen is the guys were saying the first time they went out in the rain, which was yesterday, just little bits of slippy patches here and there, and the track was difficult to kind of read grip-wise and difficult to feel, and that's because when you get rain after there's been no rain for a while, all the oil and stuff that's been dropped, the rubber kind of floats out, and it just takes a little while for the rain to wash it clean, and I expect a lot more grip today than there was yesterday in the wet.
Let's just go back to Michael Laverty slightly because before we had the obvious time update for you, but Michael Laverty, we should put that into context, his performance, because his brother John Laverty has had a big crash here this weekend. John, we know you're watching, wish you the very best of health, and we want to see you back here very soon, of course, but explain what happened with John Laverty.
John was coming out of Dearsley, the last corner. It's a big curve, a big fast fourth gear curve onto the start finish area, lost the front end. That shot him across right into the pit lane guard wall there. He went in feet first. He's done quite a lot of damage. He's well knocked about, including breaks to his ankle, lower leg, dislocated both. This is it, look.
Well, this is
the corner. You know, you come. It's quite a distinct kind of left-hander when you're on the bike, and he's gone in off to the right. Obviously, you spin off to the right when you're crashing a left-hander. Gone in feet first to a wall that, quite frankly, is not going to move no matter what you hit it with, and he's knocked himself about. Lower body particularly. He's done a couple of ribs, dislocated both shoulders, but ankles and legs, a couple of fractures down there. But he's all right. He's sat up in bed. He's got nothing life-threatening. He's talking to people. He's quite upbeat about the whole situation, and he's waiting to see just where he's going to, who's going to put him sort of back together skeletally, as they say.
Good word. Good word to bring in at this point. That's a great word to use. And it's worth saying about the Laverty clan that they are so tight-knit. Of course, we have Eugene in World Superbikes for Yamaha. We've got Michael here and John here. Mickey, their dad, former great 250 rider. He's here all the time.
And that's the point. It's a tight-knit family, but it's a racing family. And you don't want this kind of thing to happen, but it's a distinct possibility that at some point in a racing career at this level, you're going to get knocked about. And it's how you get over those injuries and how you get back to racing that is sometimes a true test of whether you've got what it's going to take to be a world champ or, to race at that level.
Well, they definitely have got something
Yeah,
about them, have the Lavertys there. Let's go on then to our second place man in qualifying, Tommy Hill. You touched on him a little earlier on, but Tommy was just storming for the majority of the session.
Absolutely, and the majority of the weekend in general, Tommy's been the man to beat, actually. Loves this place, didn't have the best of luck last time here, fell off on somebody else's petrol that had been spilt from a previous crash, knocked him centre about, did a lot of damage to his shoulder. That looked like at one point it was going to wreck his British Championship this year. It hasn't. He's come back strong. He's a tough man, is Tommy. And he's been romping around all weekend, and until the last literally 10-15 seconds of the final third qualifying session yesterday, he was the man who looked like he was going to be on pole, and Hopkins nicked it from him, mugged him, like I say, on the very last lap possible of the time session yesterday.
It was about as dramatic as we get.
It was,
with,
it was fantastic,
qualifying, wasn't it? And I was standing in the Swan Yamaha garage with the Swan Yamaha guys watching their reaction, and the shoulders dropped, but they applauded John Hopkins.
I was quite the opposite. I was actually in the scene that, I was in Crescent Suzuki garage, and I got quite the opposite.
You were watching this, Crescent Suzuki.
We were watching it, but we didn't even know until the last split of the last lap of the last second of practice that he'd actually nicked it from Tommy Hill, and obviously the Crescent Suzuki garage went completely mental. Big Jack running about, he didn't actually know that he'd got it. He had it explained to him. He wasn't actually watching the screen. It was fantastic last qualifying session, and a brilliant performance from John Hopkins. Remember, this is the second time he's been back here, and it is a bit of a worry that he's going to be going back to circuit for the second time with that knowledge and with that setup kind of expertise that the team's gathered in the previous meeting. And I tell you what, he's going to be the man to beat, I think.
He's a proper article, isn't he?
And he's
John
a nice
Hopkins?
guy.
Absolutely.
Always got a smile on his face. He's come to Britain. The big question mark over John Hopkins this year, from myself as well as many other supposed experts, can he get his head? We know he's quick. We knew he was going to be quick. He's got rid of a few demons that were happening in his life in general. He's back to full form as a person. But I just question whether he could get to grips with and get his head round Oulton Park, Cadwell Park, the quirky British circuits that we've grown up with and we love are different to what he's ever raced. Can he get to grips with them? Yep, he can.
Hungry, hungry.
Not only
rider.
that, he's actually loving it. That's the trick for me.
He's got his mojo back.
Yep,
definitely got his mojo back. Let's take a quick look then at the grid going into this first Superbike race, and it is John Hopkins who is on pole, of course, ahead of Tommy Hill, as we just said, and Michael Laverty, with Shane Byrne seeing out the front row of the grid on the HM Plant Honda. Ryuichi Kiyanari starts the second row, alongside him Loris Baz. Good qualifying performance from the young Frenchman there. Alex Lowe's alongside him on the Kawasaki. The pair of them were trading places throughout qualifying. Peter Hickman sees out the second row. Third row started off by James Westmoreland. Then Josh Brooks, struggling a little bit to put in his best time during the final session, but expect Brooksy up there. We know how fast he's at Oulton. Michael Rutter, then Chris Walker. Then row 4 starts off with John Kirkham, then Gary Mason, Martin Jessup and Graham Gowland. Those are the first 4 rows of the grid for the first race here at BSB, and we'll get underway in a few minutes' time. But before we do, let's have a catch-up with the pole position man and John Hopkins and find out his immediate thoughts after that amazing lap.
John Hopkins, we have a saying in Britain, you wait for a bus and then 2 come at the same time. You're making a bit of an habit of this pole position thing, aren't you?
Yeah, 2 in a row is not too bad, but I'm a really big fan of Oulton Park, obviously with the history of just, getting my first BSB win and first win in so many years, so forth, list goes on, but just big fan of this place, and the Samsung Crescent Suzuki's working great because we managed to do the lap time when we had already had used tires at the end of the session, so it just shows how good the bike's working.
The whole idea of this kind of 3-sector qualifying system that we've got in BSB now was to build a bit of excitement and have something for the people who come on Saturday to watch, and it couldn't get any more exciting than that. He left it to the last sector on the last lap of the last minute of qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't expect it either. I after all session, we've been first every single session the whole weekend. So except for qualifying 2, it was, I think. But so I kept seeing P2 on the board, and I knew that we had a little bit of tire left. So I just didn't want to settle for second, and I wanted to try and go for that pole position, and just pulled the pin out on that last lap. And we managed to get pole position. I'm really, really happy about it.
The last sector was the best, and that's what did it for you. Did it feel to be that quick? Did you feel like you were flying?
I actually locked up the front on the brakes because I actually broke probably about 50 meters later than I have been all weekend long, and it actually locked the front going into the forget the Lodge corner.
Lodge, yeah.
And yeah, I'd locked the front into there, so it was a little bit hairy, but I made the corner and just whacked the throttle and made it to the front straightaway.
John, have a safe race day tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope we all get a safe race day here. The reason for the delay of this first race, it's just been delayed by a few minutes, is because in the warm-up for the Supersport Championship race that happened a few moments ago, one of the bikes dropped some oil at Shell. Shell is a very fast, very tough corner to get right. This is the current clean-up operation going on. The guys out there, the marshals, great marshals and great event organisation here at British Superbikes. As ever, they're putting detergent down. They're trying to get rid of the oil. They will get rid of it. It won't take very long. It's just a slight delay on grounds of safety. And as you can see, you get some idea of the banking and how hard everybody is pushing, especially on the exit of Shell. It's a very, very tough corner to get right when everything's right. The last thing you want to do is have oil underneath you. So the racing will get underway in a couple of minutes' time. But before it does, and seeing as how the rain is starting once again at Oulton Park today, let's take a look at one of the dark arts of the racing world, and that is how to get the best wet weather setup on your bike and how to make the right decisions at the right time. James Whittam went to Swan Yamaha to find out their process for when it all goes damp.
If you're competing in a 12-round championship running the UK, then weather is obviously going to be an issue at some point in the season. If it's dry, there's no problem. You stick your slick tyres on, your dry settings, you go and race. Likewise, when it's wet, you stick your wet weather tyres on, you back the suspension off to wet settings and you go and race. The shenanigans really start when the weather doesn't know what it's going to do. But what is the difference between a dry and a wet weather setting? Well, slicks develop a lot more grip than wets, therefore the suspension is firmer. When it's wet, you haven't got as much grip, so you back everything off. The forks, less preload on the springs, maybe even softer springs and less damping. The rear, less spring preload and less damping. Also these days you can alter the mapping on the engine to make it a lot softer delivery and give the rear tyre a chance to grip and not to spin up. The big trouble starts when the weather really doesn't know what it wants to do, like Thruxton. The riders are sat there on the grid, the track's wet, but it looks like it's going to dry out. So do you go with wet or dry settings? So not only do riders these days have to be able to ride the bike and get the bike set up for every condition, they've really got to be a little bit of a fortune teller and a weatherman as well. As a rider, it's a really difficult position to be in, but it's one you know you're going to be in at some point. Really, you don't want to be sat on a grid, it's just rain, the track's wet, you think wet. But there might be no more clouds coming and you've got to be out there for the best part of 50 minutes all race on a dry track with wets. It's not going to work. Likewise, you don't want to go out on slicks if it's going to rain. Really difficult position to be in. And it's one where experience can count for a lot. One man with a little bit of experience, in fact a lot, is ex-top rider and now Swan Yamaha crew chief Pete Jennings. Pete, difficult position to be in. You've been there yourself, I've been there. What do? I mean, do you have somebody looking at the weather on satellite pictures or you just stick your finger in the air, or what do you do?
Sometimes it's a guess, but the race director, Stu Higgs, he gives us a lot of advice. He usually knows what's coming. Obviously we can look on the internet if we like, but generally it's experience, knowledge of the track, how fast they dry, if it's windy or not windy.
Case in point, Thruxton. Lots of people out there were people on slicks, people on intermediates, people on full wets, all in the same race, and you can get it right and you can get it wrong.
Yeah, it's very difficult. The riders tend to panic sometimes on the grid and might not make the right choice.
Tommy Hill in 28th
position,
so
yeah.
perhaps that rear, intermediate rear wasn't the right call.
No, there he is.
Point. There is Tommy Hill struggling then on the fourth lap of 15.
Yep, everybody who did choose those intermediate rears struggling just like that man there, Tommy Hill. You can see the lead angle's not as much as it would be. He's not getting the grip that the lads are with the wets up
Look
front.
at that, his teammate Michael Laverty is looking to find a way past his namesake Michael Rutter.
That's Tommy Hill.
Tommy Hill comes in, I think he'll be changing that rear tyre.
We were lucky race one, we put the wets in. Michael wanted into rear, we didn't really have time, went with the wets and he won the race.
You've worked with a lot of riders at every level, at this level, the highest level. Do you actually take their advice? Do you decide? Do they decide? Do they tell you what they want?
Well, the rider's generally done an outlap. He's seen the track. He pulls up on the grid. He can tell you what the track is like. But we're all guessing to how it might change. But generally, the crew chief will make the decision for the rider because the rider will be stressing, panicking. The rational decision is very difficult. That's why the crew chief has to be calm and make that decision.
So what you're really saying is, even at this level, with everything we've got around us and the effort and money that goes into this kind of setup, it's still a little bit of a lottery, isn't it?
It's a lottery, Jim.
British Weatherfield.
Oh, well, there you go then, James. Thank you very much for that with the Swan Yamahas. We are here in the pit lane of Oulton Park, and I'm joined now by Jack Valentine, team manager of Crescent Samsung Suzuki. Jack, thanks for coming over and talking to us while we're waiting for the track to be opened, while the clean-up operation is going on. Let's talk about your man on pole position, John Hopkins, because, well, he liked to leave it to the last second yesterday, didn't he? He must have caused you a few palpitations with those last laps.
Yeah, not really, Tony. I mean, we knew he had it in him to get pole, and I knew he really wanted to get it as well. And I mean, he'd been up front in most of the sessions, including the wet session. He'd been quickest, and then I really did think, you know, we could have got the pole. And then all of a sudden, Tommy put a flying lap in. I thought, well, we've got 5 tyres now, 5 laps on the soft tyre. I thought, maybe not. And then I saw him drop back, and I thought, he's still got it in him as John, and he just sort of composed himself, and then he just went for it. And we were watching the splits, and obviously it was coming up yellow on the splits, so automatically you're thinking, oh yeah, he's not as quick as his previous split. But obviously the crew chiefs have everything down in writing as well, so we knew it was only hundreds out. And then he just put the third split in, which was a fantastic split. And straight into pole, you know, which was just fantastic. You know, really good to see it.
It's a great parallel we can draw between that last qualifying session and his BSB debut this year, really, Jack, in that he starts off thinking about it, he works out his game plan, and then he just builds up his pace. Is that how you find John Hopkins to work with? Is he a thinking rider?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, straight from when we started pre-season testing, there was no, like, you know, I'm from MotoGP or anything like that. He worked with the team, nice and steady, just kept chipping away, not too many changes to the motorcycle. When he sort of hit a little bit of a wall, you know, we'd look at the data, and Les would make some changes, and then he'd go out again. If it was a wrong change, he'd go slower. If it was right, instantly go quicker. That's what we did in qualifying. He was well happy with the bike. But Les spotted something on the data. He thought he wanted to just try a little change, made the change, went quicker. And that's what he's doing. He's just chipping away, not coming in moaning and groaning about the bike. Ever since he cocked his leg over it, he said it's just nice to be back on what he feels is a proper race motorcycle, especially after riding the like super stock type Evo bikes in the States, you know.
We were talking about it a little earlier on with James Whittam, and he said he was surprised is too strong a word, but pleasantly surprised perhaps in the way that John Hopkins has got his mojo back and seized the championship. You know, there was a question mark on would he step up to the plate at BSB. A lot of tracks to get to grips with, and it's a real joy to see him do that.
Yeah, well, again, from pre-season testing, I knew he would do, because you know that when you're working with a guy, even though you're not necessarily looking at lap times, you know from experience, you know he's going to be on the pace. I think we went to Brands Hatch, and I mean, remember, he's ring rusty as well. He's just done a few races in the States, and then obviously had the operations to get his injuries right. Yeah, okay, we had a DNF when he outbraked himself at Druids, and then the 5th place. Maybe a few people were doubting him, but certainly the team wasn't. And then obviously we came here, and then he had the win, and he's just been going, you know, improving ever since. And the racecraft's come on tremendously now. He knows what the other guys are up to on the track. He knows how they all ride. He knows what to look out for. He knows who's touring behind him or touring, trying to get a toe off him. I mean, he like Tommy did at Thruxton, he just nipped in behind him. We couldn't do anything about it because of the conditions. And so he's learning all what's going on, all about his rivals, and now I think you're starting to see the real John Hopkins.
And it's nice as well, isn't it? He's a top 10 finisher in MotoGP this year, of course, and it's nice to think that BSB, as we know, Jack, as everybody involved knows about this championship, is a real way to go back to the world scene, or for young riders go up to the world scene. And that's testament not only to the efforts of yourself and all the other team managers here, but behind the scenes as well.
Absolutely, this is without doubt, you know, I would say the best championship in the world. I mean, okay, we know some of the tracks are still a little bit quirky compared to the you know, the big GP style tracks with lots of runoff, etc. But you know, the organisation in BSB and the medical staff, the marshals, you know, I mean, it's just everything's just first class, and the quality of racing, you know, it's just first class. There's no other domestic series anywhere like it, and even World Superbike, you know, okay, there's a few top runners and they're giving us some good racing, but the depth of field after that is nothing like BSB.
Absolutely, could not agree more with you, Jack. We'll let you go because pit lane is about to open, but thanks for talking to us. Jack Valentine there, the team manager of Crescent Samsung Suzuki.
Thanks,
cheers,
Tony.
Jack. Thank you very much. So Jack will now head back down to his garage, which is just down here behind us, and look who we've got here, because we've been pulling in a friendly face, Jonathan Ray from Castrol Honda. Obviously, normally out there on the World Superbikes, you are carrying an injury, Johnny. To anybody who isn't aware of what's going on with you, explain how you got that injury and what the latest diagnosis is.
Yeah, basically I had a 143 mile an hour crash in Misano 2 rounds ago, and I broke the top of my radius bone, which is in the wrist, and also the ligament that holds the scaphoid and the lunate bone together. So what that means, basically, it acts like an arch in your wrist, and when you take that ligament away, my wrist caved in, had no stability. So the diagnosis at the track was only a broken wrist, and I got back to my specialist in Manchester, and you know, in the operation to screw down the wrist, which would have made I would have raced in Aragon. He done arthroscopy and seen that there was a lot of damage, so he repaired that, and you know, I woke up with 2 external pins, and you know, a little bit devastated, but.
It was good in the way they found out about it, wasn't it? Because if it had just been set initially, it would have gone on for a lot longer.
Yeah, sure, and it's 100% fixed now. It's a little bit hard, you know, sat at home, and it's going to take time. I've got 3 more days with the cast on. I can take that off. I'm looking forward to showering again properly.
Counting the hours, aren't you, to get that
and then it'll be careful rehab. You know, it's my throttle wrist, so I don't want to rush things. But equally, you know, it's hard watching my team. You know, like, I feel like I need to be back there, you know, giving them the results they deserve. They're putting so much effort in, and yeah, it is hard sitting at home watching.
You have to admit, though, for a 143 mile an hour crash, you got away pretty light.
Yeah, you know, it is testament to like the safety that's involved now with not just in circuits, but you know, riding kit. You know, I owe a lot to RI helmets and my Alpine Star leathers, because you know, there wasn't a mark on me. I was conscious throughout it all, but you know, pretty sore. I wish I was knocked out, but. Yeah, you know, the safety apparel now of all riders is top notch, and you know, I just overheard the conversation before talking about marshals, but you know, they done everything they could to keep me safe, and yeah, we're in one piece.
Let's talk about your World Superbike season up until the crash. How was it for you? Were you feeling happy with the bike, or was there areas of the bike that you want to develop?
Do you know, honestly, it's been a nightmare this year for me. I haven't enjoyed a lot of it. There's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows. You know, I came back off an injury last year in my left wrist, and you know, the bike caught fire in pre-season testing in Australia, and I had to jump off at a high speed, which put me back to square one. So I rode Australia and Donington pretty injured. Then I went to Aston and I won. It was like, yeah, happy days, I'm back on it, you know. And then it kind of all went wrong again in America. You know, we had a crash in a 10th place, and you know, that's not what I want to come to race for. And you know, then in Misano we got knocked out. So I just want to, you know, I know where we belong in that championship, and I want to take the right time out to come back 100% and do myself and the whole Castrol Honda team some justice.
I don't think anybody would doubt you for doing that at all, and no negative comments about that at all. And the positive of you being injured, if there is a positive, is that we get to see Alex Lowe's keep your seat warm. How do you rate how he's getting on the Castrol Honda bike?
Yeah, I think we've seen here in the BSB championship that Alex has, you know, very high potential. He's still quite a young guy, and I think the team are pretty happy with the progress he made in Bruno. You know, he's got a pretty strange riding style compared to me, not straight, different. So you know, he's adapting to the bike. The team's trying to give him as much information. We had race winning data there from 2010, and he found that strange, you know. So I think he's...
When you say strange, Johnny, how does he differ to you in terms of style? What does he do that's different to how you had the bike, sir?
Well, generally, it's on braking. You know, I tend to brake quite strong initially, and you know, release the brake towards the corner, like I think a lot of guys. But where Alex tended to get on the brake really progressively and build up a lot of pressure right to the apex. Now that seemed really strange to my guys, but it's normal for him. So, you know, does he look at my data and try and let's won a race there, or do the team make the bike to suit him? You know, I would always like the team to make a bike to suit me, and you know, he's got high potential. If the guys do that, you know, it's depending on how I go now with the 3 weeks out of cast up to Silverstone. You know, you might see him get another crack at it. And I think it's great to give, you know, a young British guy another chance. You know, because we've got World Championship full of British guys now, all on competitive rides. So to get one more in there would be great.
Johnny, we'll let you go. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks
Really
very
appreciate
much.
that. I'll probably see you later on throughout the day if the weather hits, but thanks for talking to us. Jonathan Ray there from Castrol Honda. Well, from one Honda man to another, because Javier Beltran, the team manager of HM Plant Honda, I nearly said Castrol Honda there. Sorry about that, Javi. He joins me here in pit lane. Let's quickly talk about what's going on with your guys in qualifying, because Shane Byrne is, of course, on the front row of the grid, and Ryuichi Kiyanari just one place behind him, 5th place on the second round of the grid. How was qualifying from your point of view?
It's steady. I mean, both the guys felt they could have gone quicker, and had circumstances been a little bit different, I'm sure they would have. But Kyo being in 5th place is not such a bad place on the second row. And let's just hope that they can get away at a clean start here and keep the race to the distance that it's set out to be.
It was nice earlier on to hear James Hayden and James Whitton both saying, look, you can't discount Ryuichi Kiyanari for anything, least of all here. You go along with that? I'm guessing as team manager you would go along with that.
Definitely. I mean, look at the end of last year, 3 wins, and the beginning of the season here. Kyo didn't have a fantastic time in qualifying and warm-up and everything else, and pulled a win out of the bag. So, don't underestimate Kyo one bit. If it's there, he'll take it and he'll push. And, we saw that at Snetterton there. Sat behind Hopper and Shaky, and unfortunately that incident put him there and he was away.
Interesting that Ryuichi Kiyanari is such a competitive other side of the garage, isn't it? Every time he looks across, he sees Shane Byrne, can't be easy for him.
I guess so. The guys are very, very professional. Like we keep saying before, there's 5 times British Championship riders in the garage there, 3 times with Kia and 2 times with Shane Byrne. They haven't just achieved that overnight and doing nothing.
Always nice to hear the orange and the black's race history. Thanks for talking to us, Harv. We'll let you go to the podium.
Thank you very much, Tony.
Let you go to the grid, actually.
Thank you.
Say podium.
Thank you.
So, Javier Beltran will now go over to the grid. The grid is starting to form up now. We're going to take a very short break, but when we come back, we will get underway with this delayed BSB Race 1 from Oulton Park. We'll see you with that in a couple of minutes. To Oulton Park, we're about to get underway with the first MCE British Superbikes race of the day, and James Whittam is talking to the riders on the grid. Whit, over to you.
Tony, you were talking with Javier Beltran. I'm now with his main man, Shane Byrne, championship leader. Shane, you're on the kind of inside, 4th position of the front row. Not a bad place to be, is it? As long as you can stop it spinning off the line.
Yeah, no, it should be all right. Provided we get a decent launch, it'll be fine. But hopefully that'll be fine, and we can get through turn 1, get the first lap out of the way, and everything will kind of settle down a little bit, and see where we're at from there.
You've been round this place this weekend in the wet. It rained, I think, was it yesterday morning, was it? And you said some issues with grip, but you'd expect that. It's not rained here for a couple of months. A lot of kind of rubbish floating back to the surface. I would expect a lot more grip now.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem was they delayed the start of the race because somebody's blown up and spilled oil or fuel or something all the way around from Shell Oils right the way up over the top of Clay Hill. So that's going to make life interesting. I tried to have a look for it on the outlap there, but hopefully we'll avoid it in the race.
You've done it all before, haven't you?
A few times.
Good luck, man.
Cheers, thanks.
Right, we'll just nip, if we can, come across. We're just going to have a quick word with, if we can, poleman John Hopkins. John's just putting his gum shield in. John wears gum shields and under helmet things. In fact, I tell you what, we are not going to have a word with John Hopkins because he's sticking his helmet on. That's a bad idea. The rain is coming down again now. The track, I can tell you, doesn't feel mega grippy to me. I've got to say, that's just with my Adidas pumps on, though, not with any kind of trick wet with the tyres. That's the view they've got. Look at that. That's old corner down there. You can see how wet the track is. The big problem for them is actually getting off the line without spinning on the paint. If they can do that, they're not going to be doing so bad. Tony, back to you, mate.
Thank you very much, James. Yes, the rain is starting to come down once again. It's almost impossible conditions out here for the riders to kind of get to grips with, all pun intended with that. Right, let's get underway then with this race as the grid is cleared and James Whittam hustles his way back over pit lane and into the commentary booth where he will start commentating in just a couple of moments' time. But kicking things off, it's Jack Bernicle.
Well, the first time we came to Oulton Park on the 3rd of October 1953 for the Wirral 100 Club, the weather wasn't that clever there, but I tell you what, 40,000 fans turned up to watch. And after getting 42,000 at Snetterton a couple of weeks ago, John Hopkins, number 21, Ryuichi Kiyanari, number 1, number 33, Tommy Hill, number 67, Shaky Bird, number 7, Michael Laverty, will be getting watched by a similar number of people here, despite the changeable weather. We've actually had bright sunshine while rain has been falling on our heads. and it looks as if it might continue like that fairly much for the rest of the afternoon. So dodgy weather, a big, far from dodgy crowd, all out there looking forward to enjoying whatever entertainment these guys could go throw at them. And as I mentioned earlier in the programme, there was a Hopkins on the front cover of the 1994 British Superbike Championship programme. It was a guy called Nicky Hopkins who came from Guernsey on the Isle of Channel Islands and was actually staying with the Haslam family in Smalley in Derbyshire at the time. John Hopkins, he said that he put that fast lap in to snatch pole position after going back to his garage, just sitting and ruminating on where he felt he could go a bit quicker, and then picturing where he could go a bit quicker, going back out on a part-worn tyre and producing that scintillating lap. He said it popped me out of the seat a few times along the way, but he said I couldn't have been any quicker through the final turn, that it was absolutely the fastest I could go through there. So James Whittam, that was a John Hopkins one-off lap, but we know for the fact that he won here at Oulton Park last time that this is a track he said he got on with it from the moment he went on a track day here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, he's bang up for it as well. You can tell the man means business. He's got all sorts of little kind of idiosyncrasies, little build-ups. He puts a little kind of silly hat on underneath his crash helmet. That's to soak a little bit of the sweat up, keep his hair from getting down in front of his eyes. And he has a gum shield and that, but he's bang up for it. You can tell I didn't even talk to him there, mate.
So John Hopkins then is set up to go here, and alongside him, well, Shaky Byrne, the instructions delivered by Javier Beltram to Shaky Byrne, James, were, you know, if we do get that kind of deluge we got during warm-up, just don't push it too hard. We want you to just
bring it up.
Come home in a reasonable position. That'll do us.
It's difficult for a rider when you get told that. You don't know what to do.
He didn't look best pleased. But hey, Javier did say to him, I'll leave it down to you.
Yeah, it's difficult as a rider. You want to go out and win, and Yuichi Kinada goes well around here and well in the wet when he's going.
On the laughingly called warm-up lap here in the wet at Oulton Park. That is the standings in the British Superbikes with MCE Insurance Championship. Shaky Byrne, 201 points. John Hopkins on the Samsung Crescent Suzuki, second on 182. Tommy Hill, third on 140, ahead of Yuichi Kianari, now on 121 point ahead of Michael Laverty. Josh Brooks at the last round pushed himself into the top six. But if you look at the rest of them, there's half a dozen guys could be in that top six. With Stuart Easton sidelined, we've got Peter Hickman on the Tyco Honda, John Kirkham on the Samsung Crescent Suzuki, Gary Mason's MSS Colchester Kawasaki, Loris Baz, the 18-year-old Frenchman, on the Motorpoint Yamaha, and Michael Rutter on the Rapid Solicitors Batham's Ducati, who, after a couple of bad rounds, could pull some points back here. Those guys are all in with a shout on that top six. And this is what the grid looks like, with John Hopkins on pole position after that record-smashing lap. Tommy Hill on the Swan Yamaha had already broken the lap record with that 1:35.247. Michael Laverty, his teammate, ran third, although he's obviously slightly distressed about the fact that his close brother John suffered extensive injuries in a crash yesterday. I beg your pardon, on Friday. Shaky Byrne on the outside of row 4 for HM Plant Honda. His teammate, defending champion Kianari, 10 times a race winner here, is heading up row 2 ahead of Loris Baz, who always gets a tow from somebody to pull himself up there. Alex Lowe's looking pretty scintillating again on the Colchester Kawasaki, and Peter Hickman. And then we've got Westmoreland, Brooks, Rutter and Walker on the third row of the grid. Kirkham, Mason, Jessup and the Evolution Mirror.co.uk leader in this particular race. That is Graham Gowland on the WFR Honda, just one place ahead of his teammate Glenn Richards.
Here we go. It's who can get it off the line, Jack, that's going to count here.
The lights change and the start so important. Shaky Byrne gets a good one. John Hopkins gets a good one. And it's Hopkins, a clear leader into Old Hall Corner. John Hopkins tiptoes his way through. We've already had a 15-minute delay because there was... and someone's clipped the curb and gone down. It might have been one of the Tyco Hondas.
It is, and he's on his own.
It's Patrick Muff.
Yep.
Patrick Muff, the Swiss rider for Tyco Honda, has gone down. He seemed to clip the curb, James.
He did, he hit the paint, the back spun up, it flung him off. There was plenty of people behind him, didn't get clipped, and that's the important thing. They will be able to clear that up before the next lap, no problem.
So we got Byrne, Hopkins, Hill, Hickman, Rutter. Where did he come from? Westmoreland, Mason, Kianari back in 8th place, Brooks 9th. And Hopkins goes way wide at Island Bend, loses the lead.
Yeah, he does. Rutter goes up the inside of him as well. There's lots of bumping and boring downfield. What do you mean, where did Rutter come from? It's Rutter's conditions, Jack. That's what it is.
Yeah, but he always denies it.
Oh, yeah, Look at the facts.
Over the top of the hill and then scorching down towards Knickerbrook. Well, Shaky Byrne did say to you, James, that the start was so important to get a clear first lap in. And here he is at the front with Hopkins and Tommy Hill right behind him. The guys we would have expected to be up there at the front.
Yeah, the guy who went wide at the hairpin, the shells have been really, really wide and lost a couple of places, was Kirkham, I think. He was definitely one of the Samsung Crescent Suzukis.
We're on the first lap of 15. Shaky Byrne, John Hopkins, Tommy Hill at the front. Peter Hickman's made a terrific start in 4th place. Michael Rutter 5th. Hickey is going for it. He wants that top 6 place and he's way ahead of Josh Brooks in 9th, and Brooks is currently the 6th place man in the championship.
Yeah, and I tell you,
but Hickman's gone down. Hickman lost the front. That looked so unkind. He was just about to tip into Lodge Corner and the front just went away. James, could that be something to do with whatever was left on the track? It was left all around the circuit after the Super Sport warm-up.
It could be that you're hard on the brakes, you're trying to get the grip from that front tyre. That actually depends on a lot of weight going from the rear when you're on the throttle onto the front, and it looked to me like he just didn't get the bike settled with all the weight on the front, therefore didn't develop enough grip from the front tyre.
So cruel misfortune then for Lincolnshireman Peter Hickman. He drops out, so it's Byrne, Hopkins, Hill, Rutter now 4th, Gary Mason, another outside chance on the top 6 is running 5th, and look at Tommy Hill looking as if he might try and find a way past. And once again, Hopkins way wide at Island Bend, but perhaps that's deliberate.
No, he's
slingshots round the outside.
I think a little bit of a wide entry, then cutting back to a second apex might be the way forward, but not so wide that you can't make any apex, and that's what he did there.
This is the start, and we saw a terrific start from pole position, man number 21, John Hopkins on that white Suzuki, and across came Shaky Byrne to snatch 3rd place. But Michael Rutter had crept through on the inside, James, very cleverly, and just...
Watch for Patrick Murphy. He didn't clip the curve. It wasn't a clipping of the curve for Patrick Murphy. He actually just cracked the throttle on and off it went. This is the Hickman incident. Here we go. Look at him in 4th place on wide right side. Yeah.
It did happen very early, James.
It did, because I don't think there was a lot of weight on the front there. You've got to really make sure everything is the weight from the front end. That pushes the wet tyre through the damp and into the tarmac.
Shaky has a huge moment going through Druids. That's a warning to him.
Do you know the funny thing is, Jack, riding in these conditions, yeah, it looks like you're getting slides all the time, but they have quite a lot of control. You know, these wet tyres develop the grip and they let you have the control and the feel that you need. You can get it sideways without going down the road every time. It doesn't look like that, but that is the case when you sit on the bike.
The front 3 then have broken clear of Michael Rutter on the Rapid Solicitors Batham's Ducati 4th. Josh Brooks has moved through to 5th from 9th place, and these conditions you do feel might suit the Australian. Gary Mason nudged back to 6th. Michael Laverty made a poor start. He's in 7th place. There is Brooks going through ahead of that man, Gary Mason, who's got former World Supersport champion Andrew Pitt in his corner once again this weekend. Here comes Hopkins.
Here we go. And you're dead right in what you're saying about Josh Brooks, fastest man. And he's going to go off the track.
Tommy Hill thinks about moving through, but Hopper's determined not to let him through at Island Bend.
And then he runs wide and takes Tommy with him. It's not a brilliant line of Hopkins out there. That's the 3rd time in 3 laps we've seen him do it, and it doesn't work.
Yuichi Kianari, the Enigma, 11th place at the moment, behind Carl Harris, who loves this place and is making his comeback into British Superbike.
2 things I can see developing here. The man on the move is definitely the man in 4th place there. That's Rutter. He's creeping up on the leading 3, and Brooks is creeping up on them all. He has the fastest lap so far.
You're right, because Rutter has moved into the same picture, and in the background there hovers that black relentless vitality Suzuki of Joshua Brooks. So there's the front 5 going up Clay Hill. This is so exciting. This launch across the top. How on earth they ever stop it for Druids, I don't know. Watch the trackside.
You know, in the wet, one of the problems you've got, well, in the dry as well, but it's more kind of, it's more definite in the weight. There's lots of places just like there coming out of Drew's where the bike goes light, and every time weight comes off and goes back on the bike, you've less or more amounts of grip, and you've got to read that. You've got to know when you've got the grip and when you haven't got the grip.
Here's Michael Laverty nudging underneath Gary Mason on the green and black MSS Colchester Kawasaki. So moving through then into 6th place as Byrne, Hopkins, Hill cross the line, Rutter, Brooks, then Laverty, Mason. The next men up should be the Motorpoint Yamahas. It's Loris Baz. Carl Harris is now 9th on the split Lath Aprilia.
Fastest man out on track again is Josh Brooks, and he's a lot quicker than the leaders.
1:48.4.
That's
But there's number
quicker.
1, Yuichi Kianari. He's down in 11th place, just ahead of the leader of the Mirror.co.uk Evolution class, Glenn Richards.
And he doesn't look like he's digging in or enjoying it. Here comes Hopper. Is he going to get it stopped? No, he isn't going to get it stopped.
But he does get a great slingshot round the outside, and Shaky has to let him go.
Right, he's sat on the bike and he seems to be able to make it work. It wouldn't be the line I'd choose, but it's working for him.
At the moment, his teammate John Kirkham is in 13th place. He had a massive 140-mile-an-hour get-off at Island Bend on Friday, James, so he's not feeling super confident.
I tell you what, all these leading 4, and I include Rutter in that, are going to have a 140-mile-an-hour problem in the form of Josh Brooks, I'll tell you, any minute now.
Brooks was a full second quicker than Shaky Byrne and John Hopkins on the last lap, but now Hopper has clear track. Will that make a difference? Clear track, James, clear vision as he launches up Clay Hill.
I don't think so. I think Brooks the man on the move. They won't know Brooks is coming, and well, they will in a minute.
Shaky Byrne in 1st place, 15th place, the 2nd place man in the Evo class. Great ride by Moto Rapido Ducati's Scott Smart. And these are the 3 leaders tiptoeing into Old Hall Corner.
Just watch the Old line of Rutter, the man in 4th place there on the Ducati. Just watch, it comes up the inside, the right-hand side. It's not the classic fast line. At Lodge Corner. And I think that Rutter's felt something out wide because he's taken an oddball line. But Rutter would never do that unless there's a reason. I think he knows it's slippy, and that's the point of the track we saw Peter Hickman throw up the road.
And of course, Peter fell right in front of Michael, so Michael saw it first hand and in Technicolor.
Yep.
if you get Technicolor in these gloomy conditions. Here's Tommy Hill moving beneath Shane Byrne. Now Shaky, Chris Pike, his crew chief, was telling me the problem for Shaky is he's fast at this first stretch of the circuit. He loses about 4/10 at this point on, James. This was during qualifying.
Yep.
The chicanes he tends to they're not finding some problems with the engine braking into the chicane.
That's in the dry, I think. In the wet, it's completely different anyway in the wet. There's lots of different things going on. You've got to take different lines based on where you can get the grip. There's all sorts of, you can't really translate dry settings into wet racing.
Hopper did a 49.0, James, as we see Josh Brooks squeeze inside Michael Rutter for 4th place, but Hopkins with that clear track suddenly knocked 0.4 of a second off his lap.
Yeah, but last lap, look at that. That's Michael Laverty, number 7, down in 6th, a full second quicker than just about everybody else in front of him. He's way in the low 48s.
So will Michael Laverty at the moment? We had a 49.0, 49.6, 49.2. There is Laverty. He's just put a 48.5. We've got a faller.
That's Harris. And looks like Harris walking off. And
Carl Harris has dropped the split Lath Aprilia. He was having a lively ride in 9th place. The 3-time British Supersport champion on a track he really loves. And we've got another faller. Is that Hopkins?
That's Hopkins off,
Hopkins
definitely.
has gone. Hopkins, who'd set a 149.0 lap on his lap, got to the front and has dropped it. Now, that is exactly what...
Here we go. This is Hopkins, and look where he is. Look where it is, and look which part of the track it was.
It's the same as Hickman.
Identical piece of track to where Hickman. He landed exactly the same place as well. Yep,
there's still something on the track there.
You're dead right.
From when Paul Young came in, gesticulating furiously during the course of warm-up in Supersport this morning, saying there was stuff on the track right the way round Island Bend. Look at this.
What?
Tommy Hill launches another attack on Shane Byrne, and he gets it this time, surely.
Yeah, and that's Brooks now in 3rd. He's dropped Michael Rutter. It's Michael Rutter who actually, you've got to watch Michael Rutter in the wet because he tends to be able to see where it's canny. You know, he can see what's going on, he can read the grip, he's got lots of experience. And if Michael Rutter isn't using a particular piece of track in these conditions, there's a reason.
And Michael's certainly avoiding that spot where John Hopkins fell just now. Absolutely avoiding it.
Yeah, uncanny that one, Jack, because it was identical piece of track. Same distance out from the corner apex and same distance out from the side of the track.
So the leader now is Tommy Hill. Tommy Hill at the front with the Swan Yamaha. Second place for Shaky Byrne HM Plant Honda. Third place for the so far rejuvenated Josh Brooks on that Relentless by Taz Suzuki. Then Michael Rutter in fourth, Michael Laverty fifth, Gary Mason sixth.
You know, it's really difficult in these conditions. I used to love the wet, and lots of riders do. You're going round, you're catching the leaders, things are, you know, there's...
You're having moments like that.
You've got people in front of you. When the leader who is clearing off actually goes down, it just makes you think, you know what, there might not be as much grip, and that just tends to slow you down and let everybody else catch up. It's difficult to be in front in these conditions when you've seen people crash.
Can I just say hats off to relative British Superbike rookies Loris Baz and James Westmoreland on the Motorpoint Yamahas. 7th and 8th, James. Keogh's moved through to 9th, helped by the disappearance of Carl Harris. And Glenn Richards leading the Evo class in 10th place on the WFR Honda.
Yeah, it's one of them races, this one, Jack. The conditions are such, and the lack of grip seems to be such, that just to finish the race is something of an achievement, you know?
I think that's Keogh's feeling that right now as he tiptoes through Old Hall Corner.
And that is tiptoeing, I've got to say, for him, for a rider of his ability. And he can ride the weight, we've seen it from him before.
Chris Walker's riding strongly. Oh, look, there's Walker. He's just attacking. In fact, Scott Smart is up. Scott Smart and Walker together. Smarty leading, second in the Evo class. But Walker had a horrible off this morning during warm-up. They've done miracles to get that Kawasaki back in one piece. And James, the marshals kept ushering him away, but he was determined to get the dashboard off it before he left.
Yeah.
Apparently, Ray Stringer issues orders that the riders have got to rescue the dashboard.
Yeah, the dashboard's got all the Wizzy electronics in it, and it's about £5 if you destroy one or lose one, so obviously you want to get it back if you can. They tend to be fairly strong, you know, you can lose them off a bike, you can bounce around in the gravel. They tend to not break that much. When you get them back, they tend to work.
It was very much in one piece, looked like a lady's handbag as he carted it back with him to the pit lane.
Strangely, he does have an handbag normally under his leather.
It's fastest lap. Michael Laverty sets another 48.16. He's run the Hunter up.
Yep, red flags. Yep, you could see that from the riders.
They've also 7 laps complete out of 15. The safety car is out.
Yep, it's not red flag, sorry, safety car. I wonder whether there's something on the track. We haven't seen anything so far, Jack.
Michael Rutter and Michael Laverty look over their shoulders, wondering what's going on, and they see Gary Mason. Tommy Hill had opened now to gap at the front. He's now the last lap. Fastest man was Laverty with that 1:48.1.
Yeah,
and that's it. The slick of oil down the outside.
And I think, you don't want to be doing that, son.
That was Josh Day, who went on the dirt up Clay Hill yesterday during qualifying.
And look at that. That is exactly where they were crashing, right at the beginning of that oil slick on it lodge. Well, at least we know it doesn't go all the way around, because you can see the line disappearing off the track. I reckon that's come out of Hopkins' bike, you know. That's what I think. Watch.
Heading for it. Oh, the slick wasn't there then.
It wasn't. That's Hopkins' bike, because it goes off the track just there. That's a casing that's gone through and distributed a little bit of oil. There's not a lot of oil there, because what happens in the wet, a little bit of oil goes a long way, because it floats on the water. Oil's lighter than water. It floats and spreads out as it goes. And it's a difficult job for these marshals, because you can't have very little with it.
You're a chemist as well. You never cease to impress me.
I'm a doctor. And this is Harris.
And you've got to have a look at that man's right knee. This is Bomber Harris looking a little bit second-hand. I tell you what, that was a great ride he was having on the split lap Aprilia. No one's gone anywhere near that during the course of the season on it.
Yeah, well, he's nothing if not brave, isn't Mr. Harris?
So the safety car is leading the way at the moment, obviously. Tommy Hill in second place, Shaky Byrne third, Josh Brooks in fourth. This will close everybody up, of course. Rutter, Laverty, Mason, Baz, Westmoreland, Kirkham now up to ninth ahead of Richards. Yuichi Kiyanari had lost 2 places on the lap before the pace car came out, James. He was back to 11th place, behind and sandwiched between the Evo bikes of Glenn Richards and Scott Smart. So he's not particularly enjoying himself, although having said that, Smarty's let him back through now, so obviously he must have overtaken after the yellow flags went out. This is Hopper back in the garage, the Samsung Crescent garage, looking very miffed.
Yeah, he's miffed, but I tell you what, you know, in those conditions, you're pushing on.
it's not that difficult to do, honestly. It's just the easiest thing to slide off in the way. All the riders having a good look, craning the necks over just to see where that is. Obviously, I reckon we can think that Mr. Rutter already knew that was slippy out there, although the oil wasn't there. That did come from Hopkins and Suzuki.
So on to the 9th lap out of 15, and this is everyone now closing down. James, this could make for a rather intriguing race, because of course they'll close up on one another. The spray they'll have to deal with as well as they begin to close down. So the safety car's still out then at Oulton Park. On the 9th lap out of 15 here at Oulton Park. And so we just turned half race distance, waiting for the safety car to come in, cleaning up the oil spillage down on the road towards Lodge Corner.
Yeah, it's really difficult to clean up for the marshals because it kind of floats about everywhere. You can't really get rid of it, and it's impossible really to put anything down on it to soak it up, because obviously the water, then just whatever you put down, the dust, the cement dust, the water gets to it first and it just doesn't work. So oil in the wet is definitely a problem.
Tommy Hill still, of course, at the front on the Swan Yamaha. Shaky Burns HM Plant Honda in second. Josh Brooks Relentless Suzuki third.
That Father Christmas been helping him out.
It is. He's often here. Michael Rutter is fourth.
Back to the grotto.
Laverty is fifth, and can we just wish John Laverty all the very best. Absolutely. He had a horrendous accident yesterday. Oh, and another of the split lap Aprilia's in trouble. That's number 56 Hudson Kenner, the South African, and he stopped. The bikers, that's what's been happening a bit to the split lap Aprilia's this year. So the safety car will be in this lap, and just going back to John Laverty, he had a large prang on Friday morning on the build-based BMW, so all the best, John, if you happen to be watching from, I think you went to Chester Hospital, best place you could possibly go. So the safety car is going to come in. Now this is where Tommy Hill begins to back them up a bit and then weave to keep the heat in those tyres, but don't those rain tyres keep the heat in them quite well?
Yeah, in actual fact, when there's water on the track like this, they don't ever develop as much heat as what you probably need. I mean, and trying to keep heating them, I don't know. The wet weather tyres are designed to work within a massive range of temperatures anyway. They're made to run cooler. But,
is this British Superbikes or the Tour de France? It's like a peloton now. They're absolutely crammed up together. Now Tommy's going to start to go. Tommy comes over through Dearsley, gets a snake on as he comes across the crest of the hill, and then has got to find his way down. It's raining again as he drops into Old Hall Corner. This is the first turn. Shaky second, Josh in third, Michael Rutter and Michael Laverty fourth and fifth. Gary Mason, another ex-motocross rider who has a bit of feel for the wet. It's there in sixth place for Kawasaki.
Yeah, I think Tommy's decided he's going to put the hammer down from the off and just get going and trying to build up a bit of a gap. Always difficult. You don't know how fast to go. You don't want to be pulling away by a second lap and crash, because your team will never forgive you.
And so Shaky now is lying in second place and doesn't look to be in a rush to go any quicker right now. He's got Josh Brooks, ex-HM Plant Honda for company.
You've got to wonder, if you just put yourself there.
Shaky's having some moments, isn't he? That's the second one he's had already on that lap.
And that caused Josh Brook to shut off and nearly caused him to go down as well. Just put yourself in Shane Byrne's shoes here. What are you going to do? You're leading the championship. It's not a championship where you can actually pull away, because what you're talking about, a couple of points or a point for podium credits. That's all that's up for grabs for him. And what's he going to do? I would, in his position, probably back off. I've got to say, you're not going to risk anything.
And look at this convoy of people behind him, James. They're all involved in the battle for top six. Brooks, Rutter, Michael Laverty, Gary Mason, Loris Baz, James Westphal, John Kirkham even in ninth place. These are all guys on the fringe of that top six.
Exactly. No, that man there, Josh Brooks, has to go. He's sixth place in the championship that he just narrowly holds from, like you say, phalanx of riders behind him. He has to go. He needs a point.
And he was looking like he was determined to. Just then he was looking for an inside line on Shaky down towards Lodge Corner, and here comes the number 2 Suzuki slipping past Shaky Burns, orange and black HM Plant Honda. So what, 2/3 distance, crossing the line now after 10 laps out of 15. Tommy Hill leads it by 1.77 seconds from Josh Brooks, Shane Byrne, Michael Rutter fourth, Michael Laverty fifth, Gary Mason, Loris Baz having a terrific ride. We forget he's 18. James Westmoreland 8th, 9th Glenn Richards leading the Evo class. He's got the better of Kirkham. Kianari 11th, Smart 12th ahead of Chris Walker. James Ellison who is making his return to this championship on the SMT Honda. And here comes Michael Rutter having a look at getting inside an island bend, and he does.
The problem
Rutter,
there is, do you run wide? It's dead easy to go into island really, really quick, get under somebody, run wide and lose it all again at the hairpin. Not happening in this case.
That's Rutter up to a potential podium.
Absolutely, and you wouldn't never bet against Rutter getting a podium in these conditions. Although he says, I don't know how he can say he's not a wet weather man, because he clearly is.
And we'll keep telling him. I think we've lost number 12, Josh Day. Well, Josh was the lad who didn't even... and there he is. And look, I think... I've got a feeling that Josh has gone down that hot oil. He couldn't resist riding across earlier. Well, look, here's Gary Mason making a move. Gary Mason, I think, has nudged his way past Michael Laverty. So Mason has moved through into 5th place. Now, that's the Andrew Pitt influence again.
I just cannot understand what's going on there, because Gary Mason, we all know he can ride quick when things are right, but things are often not right. As soon as Andrew Pitt, his guru, crew chief, call it what you want, his mind coach comes back, he's fast again.
And then you notice that Shaky snooked back into 3rd, so we've got Hill leading it.
Snook.
Brooks in 2nd, Byrne 3rd, 4th Rutter, 5th for Gary Mason, ahead of Michael Laverty, and then the Motor Point Yamaha boys, Baz and Westmoreland. Glenn Richards now 9th on the Evo bike. There's a bit of a gap behind this lot. Oh, there they are, just coming through the spray in the background. So Laverty doesn't want to drop back too far, because Loris Baz is not so far behind him on bike number 65.
And I can tell you, it's getting darker and darker, and it looks like the rain isn't going to ease up. It's really belting down outside the commentary booth now.
Hill and Brooks a lot quicker than anybody else in these conditions, James. They're lapping in the low 48s. These guys are in the high 49s.
Yeah, you can see that, because they're the ones that have cleared off at the front.
So it's between Tommy Hill and Josh Brooks. Tommy Hill needs the points. Brooks needs them even more in 2nd place. These are the 3rd place guys. As they go through Hizzies, this is Shaky Byrne, I beg your pardon, through Britain. Shaky Byrne in 3rd place. Right behind him we've got Rutter, Gary Mason, Michael Laverty, and all of them in need of crucial points here as they come over the hilltop.
Yeah, you'd like to see Mason get a podium.
Look at Loris Baz. Loris Baz is moving in on the back, and there's Westmoreland. Followed by number 10, Kirkham. There's number 45, Glenn Richards, and now right behind him, Scott Smart on the Moto Rapido Ducati has got past. Look, he's got past Chianari.
Yeah, both the Moto Rapido Ducati of Smart and Glenn Richards' Honda, both Evo bikes. They're really punching above the weight, and the wet weather is allowing them to do that. Both mega wet weather men. I remember his first ever British Championship win in the big class for Smart was in conditions just like this at Donington Park. There's no mug in the wet, isn't Smarty?
So Hill crosses the line, 12 laps out of 15 complete. We're at 3/4 race distance, 1:47.93. Where did he produce that from? Fastest lap of the race.
And this is scary, you know, when you're lapping a full second or second and a bit quicker than anybody else in the race. It's I don't know whether that's a little bit too quick. And, you know, as a team member in the pits here, you'd be thinking, shall we slow him down? What are we going to do? But sometimes you can be slowed down by your crew, and that can take your concentration. And I don't know what. It's a really difficult position. But when you're a second quicker, I always wonder when you see somebody a second quicker than anybody else in the race. I do.
So Hill leads it, Brooks 2nd, and this is the battle for 3rd. Shaky Byrne, Michael Rutter, Gary Mason, Michael Laverty. Laverty now having a poke back at Gary Mason, and then we've got Loris Baz, the next man through the picture, the 6-foot, 18-year-old Frenchman, having us the former European Superstock 600 champ, having a strong ride. Glenn Richards in 10th, Smart behind him in 11th, and Ellison, another guy who excels in dodgy weather, James, has pushed through past Chianari into 12th on the SMT Honda.
Yeah, long way to go yet for Ellison. I'm sure he would have expected to be further up in these conditions especially. But if you don't make the start, you know what, it's difficult.
You know, Graham Gowland, who has now moved back into 3rd place in the Evo class. He's got past Jake Zemke, his teammate, who passed him a couple of laps ago, so he's obviously beginning to gather his confidence. I know what he doesn't do. Remember 2 years ago when he vaulted the Motor Point Yamaha into the lake, says that that's the one thing he's hoping to avoid this time out. So I think he's been taking it steady.
Yeah, Graham Gowland, he's actually, I mean, he doesn't crash a lot, I'm not saying he does, but when he does, boy, it tends to be a big one. Yeah, I remember he put a super sport bike last year over the fence and into the crowd enclosure at Cadwell Park. It was a massive accident.
That was Tommy Hill waving a leg as he dropped through with 14 onto his 14th lap. So Tommy Hill beginning to get closer and closer to victory here. This is Michael Laverty edging closer to Gary Mason. Mason in 5th. Hill, Brooks, Byrne, Rutter ahead.
Yep, 1 lap to go, and well, 1 and a bit for Tommy Hill. And you know, when you've got what, best part of 4 seconds lead, that now you can start easing off, and you know, yeah, good position to be in now.
Alex Lowe and Chris Walker have got past Kianari. Keo is now 15th.
Yep.
Mind you, he has got a cushion of about 6 or 7 seconds over Graham Gowland, so surely Kianari can hang on to a single point for 15.
The way he's going, you wouldn't bet on that, would you?
Sorry,
Keo.
Perhaps his glumness was genuine yesterday.
Well, it will be now if it wasn't then.
So Shaky Byrne wants that podium credit, James. He's fighting off Rutter. They've got a lap and a half to go as they flick through Britons and then up over the hill. They'd normally be touching 150 over the hilltop and then dropping down on the brakes towards Hizzies and Knickerbrook.
Yeah, I can tell you that even with conditions like they are and grip levels reduced as they are, they'll still be doing the best part of 130 down there.
It's horrendous. I'd rather not think about that.
Yeah, actually, when you're on the bike, you don't think about it either. You just don't. You think about getting the bike out of the corner, not high-siding, keeping the thing going, and then you concentrate on your braking points. You actually never think about top speed.
That was a 47.622 for that man on the red and yellow Swan Yamaha on that last lap. Tommy Hill, another fastest lap of the race. Brooks looking secure in second. Here's Rutter launching another attack on Shaky Byrne, but just a little steadier under braking, a couple of bike lengths apart as they go down Deers Leap.
Yeah, now I think the pairing of Burns and Rutter are actually catching Brooks a little bit.
They are.
Yeah.
Final lap, Tommy Hill then. 14 laps complete out of 15. Hill leads it. Brooks in second place. This, the battle for the final rostrum place. And of course, Michael Rutter, he's after podium credits as well as points.
He's not after podium credits in Rutter, he's after getting in the top 6. and there's a good chance of him doing it.
And after getting past Shane Byrne now, because that's going to give him a few extra points.
The problem that Rutter's...
Here he comes at Island Bend again, but Shaky tried... Oh, Shaky! There was air under the front wheel as they dropped into Island Bend.
The problem Rutter's got is the fact that Manny has to take that 6th place in the championship off his 2 places in front of him in the form of Brooks. So he needs to beat Brooks wherever Brooks finishes.
Well, he's not going to do that on this lap, but he could, as we're on the final lap, perhaps do something to quench Byrne.
Yep.
Gary Mason looking really strong in this company, tucked in there in 5th place. This is Tommy Hill weaving down the hill, but that's the way he likes to ride.
Yep, Josh Brooks next, number 2, black relentless Suzuki there.
I wonder if Josh is aware of how close Shaky is to him now, James. I'm sure he's just he's pussyfooting around the final lap.
He is, he's trying to bring it home, but there is a chance he's going to get mugged here. Maybe not.
Up Clay Hill, it looks as if he should be secure in second place, Josh Brooks, but the man most secure at the moment as they come galloping over the top of Clay Hill. Breaking hard into Druids, and Michael Rutter once again taking a look. He knows that Shaky Byrne's going to be tight into Lodge Corner. Here's Tommy Hill, absolutely bang in the middle of the track as he breaks into the final turn.
Here we go.
Josh Brooks, Michael Rutter having a look down the inside as they went into Lodge Corner. Tommy Hill takes victory in the first British Superbike race of the day here at Oulton Park. Brilliant ride for him. And across the line, Rutter gets it. Rutter grabs that 3rd place. Does he across the line?
Yes, he does. Yes,
Rutter
he does.
grabs 3rd place from Shaky Byrne. Brilliant move into the last turn. 4th for Gary, 5th Gary Mason, 6th Laverty, 7th Baz, and this is Scott Smart, the Evo winner. Has he beaten Richards?
He has
Where's
beaten Richards.
Glenn
Richards has dropped back 2 places.
So Scott Smart, 10th place, Moto Rapido Ducati. He wins the Mirror.co.uk Evo class ahead of James Ellison in 11th, 12th Glenn Richards, and Kianari will get a single point, crosses the line in 15th, Gowland 16th. Gowland, the 3rd Evo bike home. But Michael Rutter, great performance by him. He knew where to...
Here we go.
He must have squeezed it tight.
This is where it happened, down into Lodge. They're all on the inside, missing that oil. And yeah, that's fair enough, and that's exactly what Shaky would have expected from Rutter.
So the 38-year-old dry Midlander there. Michael Rutter. He'll have a dry smile on his face, a wry smile on his face after creeping past the double British Superbike champion Shaky Byrne there in the drop down to the final turn. Rutter will get those 16 points, and in the end he finished only 0.17 of a second behind Josh Brooks in second. Tommy Hill, 15 laps complete, took the win. Mason, a good ride into fifth ahead of Laverty. Baz and Westmoreland, now that's the first time the two of them have got a result that's reflected their decent qualifying.
It is, yeah, you're dead right, yeah. Both stayed aboard, and that's some achievement today. Fastest lap, you can see there, clearly it was Tommy Hill. So much quicker than anybody else was Tommy. Yeah, impressive run.
Tommy goes over the hilltop, standing up on the pegs and acknowledging the crowd down there. Chris Walker gives him the thumbs up. Yuichi Kiyanari just keeps his head down and hopes no one notices as he cruises past down into Knickerbrook.
Yeah, you talked about Michael Rutter being the dry Midlander. I can tell you he's one of the funniest men in the paddock. You've just got to listen to what he's saying. You know, they say comedy's all about timing, and he has got split-second comedy timing. It just takes a bit of working out sometimes, and it might be 5 minutes later when you get it.
Probably best to have had a couple of bottles of his Batham's beer before you start, I think.
Possibly.
So as the rain drives down over the famous lake here at Oulton Park, Tommy Hill takes the first race victory, eventually by almost 5.5 seconds from Josh Brooks. Michael Rutter grabs a thrilling third place from Shaky Byrne's HM Plant Honda. Gary Mason is fifth ahead of Michael Laverty. Loris Baz in seventh ahead of James Westmoreland. A good performance of the Motorpoint Yamahas. And John Kirkham, Samsung Crescent Suzuki, grabs ninth ahead of the Mirror.co.uk Evo winner Scott Smart Moto Rapido Ducati. 11th place went to James Ellis ahead of Glenn Richards on the Evo second place WFR Honda, the championship leader. Alex Lowe's gets 3 points for 13th ahead of Chris Walker. They managed to get that Primo Racing Kawasaki back together quickly. Kiyanari in 15th ahead of Gowler, third man in the Evo class in front of his teammate Jake Zemke, Hudson Kenner, Barry Burrell and Dan Neen. Mosser and the 777RR Motorsport Ducati, allegedly the best looking man in the paddock, gets 21st place ahead of Aaron Zanotti. James Hillier 23rd ahead of Josh Day, and the rest who didn't finish, including of course John Hopkins. So the championship standings look like this: 214 points for Shane Byrne. John Hopkins remains marooned on 182. Tommy Hill now 17 points behind him on 165. Michael Laverty moves to 129. Yuichi Kiyanari only improves 1 point to 121. Josh Brooks now just 10 points behind him and 20 points clear, and that's the important bit, in 6th place of John Kirkham, who has Gary Mason right behind him. Michael Rutter there also is just off the pace on 88. So too is Loris Baz, and Peter Hickman unlucky to remain on 85. But any of those top 12 riders in with a shout for the top 6 and the showdown. This is how the race looked then. Brilliant start from Hopkins, number 21, off the inside. Shaky Byrne moved across and joined him in 2nd place. Tommy Hill looking safe and secure as Michael Rutter squeezed through on the inside. And then Patrick Muff lost it in an instant coming out of Old Hall Corner. Fortunately, everyone was able to avoid the Swiss rider as he rolled down the middle of the track. And after that, it depended who initially was going to stay upright. Peter Hickman, looking really strong on the Tyco Honda, crashed out of 4th place as they dropped down into Lodge Corner. Hopkins was pushing for the lead and finally made a pass stick despite this extremely effective, somewhat slingshot line around the Shell Oil's hairpin. Hopper then moves through to the front and instantly started to pull clear. And then, as he came launching his way down towards Lodge Corner, an almost identical mishap to that which befell Peter Hickman rolls the Samsung Crescent Suzuki down the road. So with Hopkins out, it was Tommy Hill versus Shaky Byrne, and Hill the more determined of the two as they headed down towards Island Bend. And once the Swan Honda got to the Swan Yamaha got to the front, it stayed there. Josh Brooks then exerted the pressure, moved back in front of Shaky Byrne, number 67. And while Tommy Hill was headed for the checkered flag, it was Michael Rutter, the old rainmaster himself, who squeezed out Shaky Byrne into the final turn. with Josh Brooks in second place. Michael Rutter took third and kept himself in with a chance of getting into that top 6 at the end of the year. What a great victory for Tommy Hill then. The first win of the day. Tommy Hill takes it for the Swan Yamaha team. Michael Rutter a thrilling third, right behind rather chuffed Josh Brooks, who has at least put himself in a better position for that end of season showdown. But Tommy Hill, great ride by him. He'll be looking to do the double here at Oulton Park this weekend.
And we are here with our Mirror.co.uk Evo class race winner, and it's Scott Smart. Scott, that was a pretty hectic last lap by all accounts.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I had a pretty good ride so far through the field, and I could see Glenn and the other Evo guys in the distance. Well, actually, it was only Glenn in the distance, and we were catching slowly, but maybe wouldn't have made it to the end of the race. So the pace car probably helped me there. But on the last lap, I'd got past another couple of guys and thought, I'm not going to catch him enough. I got to him at the hairpin and thought, great, right, I've got to have a go. Went past him in the very next corner, all my hand, legs, feet flying off the pegs. I thought, well, I got no drive, but he would have had to have rolled off, so he won't either. And so, yeah, just crept across the line, and probably helped by the last corner being slippery. It was one line through there, so luckily I didn't have to throw my arms and legs off again.
It's nice to hear that you're developing your own race tactics out there in these conditions, Scott.
Yeah, you've got that whole trading the leg on the inside thing. I've got the throw every leg and arm everywhere. So but it was great to actually finally win one of these races. We had a desolate Snetterton. We were pretty much the quickest. I'd come from last on the grid because we'd broken in qualifying and got to the front of the Evo group and then broke down and then didn't even do the second race. So to come back here, it's actually thanks to Mo Rapido and Wilf and Silent Scientific and Chicane UK, because they dug deep and worked like mad to actually get a bike together for this meeting. It was 50-50 that were coming, so to reward them with a win, that's great.
Brilliant to see you up here again, and thanks for introducing a new style of overtaking for us all. Forget the leg waving, like you say, it's everything waving with you. Well done, Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. Scott will now go to the podium to start the Evo celebrations. Third place finisher in the race proper was Michael Rutter. Well, you just kept pushing right up until the end there, Mike, and you found the podium place.
Yeah, it was one hell of a race, just, well done to Badams and Rapid Solicitors and the team, it's a long time before we've been on the podium again, so, yeah, it was just treacherous out there, the conditions, and we've been moaning about oil down into Lodge, all today, and that many good riders have gone down there. It's just disgrace. I was trying to get stopped, because it was just, you could see the oil even, and they just carried us on. But it'd be nice to stand the officials all up at Lodge next time, and when we go sliding down the road, they can catch us.
Well, we'll leave it like that, but well done, Michael Rutter. We'll let you go to the podium. I don't know about that. Josh Brooks, our second place finisher. What do you make of that, what Michael just said? Because your eyebrows went up as much as mine did there, Josh.
I didn't hear exactly what he said, but I got his point, and Michael, is welcome to his opinion. I had a tricky race out there as much as he did, but I mean, it wasn't just Lodge Corner for me. I had little moments everywhere. So I mean, the track conditions all weekend have been tough, and the first corner, when I grabbed the brakes, I must have grabbed them too hard, too aggressive, and the front went, and then it come back again, and I ran wide. But I mean, there was 10 times at least during that race where I could have been off. So I mean, I'm just really grateful to brought the relentless Tao Suzuki home to the podium, and we've got a straight, clean motorbike, and
I've got to just bring up the point that from about a third into that race, you looked amazing coming past here in pit lane. The bike was loose, it was light, but you looked in total control. Did you feel good on the bike throughout that race?
Yeah, I did. Tommy clearly had something more than we did. We'll look at where we can improve. We're always trying to improve every time, but during the race there were moments where areas on the track where I didn't feel very confident, and then there are other areas like this front straight, for example, where I was happy to give it full gas and let the bike do its thing. So it was a fun race, but I mean it's challenging as well. Those wet conditions are hard on everyone, and everyone on the podium today did a really good job.
Well, you definitely did a good job. We'll let you go to the podium. Well done, Josh. Nice to see you back up here. And our race winner then, Tommy Hill from Swan Yamaha. There were times there, Tommy, where you were putting in lap record pace very nearly, the best lap times of the race. And you had a massive gap. Why did you feel the need to keep doing that?
I could smell the biscuits. I could smell the biscuits in your pocket. No, I just carried on. I think if any other riders would say the same thing. I mean, the rain's coming down heavier and heavier now, and unfortunately, there's a lot of standing water in a few places. But what I found was there was like a bit of a haze on the track. I don't know what it is, but the conditions weren't the best. I know it's wet, but something not quite right. I mean, there was a lot of oil down at Lodge Corner. but just tried to carry on. I made sure I avoided it a lot by sort of 10-15 foot, you know, because I didn't want to take the chance of going down, and just found my feet. And I'm sure the team were panicking a little bit, trying to almost say, right, slow down, because I just felt quite comfortable and I carried on chipping away. And found a rhythm. And the worry is when you slow down, you half-hearted do the braking and acceleration. So you just try to get in a rhythm and push it on, and we did. So it's good.
Must be looking forward to the second race now, come rain or shine.
Yeah, I want to dry out a bit first. I'm soaking wet, so get the helmets and that sorted out. Show done a good job, and you know, with the rain coming down, some of the visors are steaming up, but the show's done a good job. So yeah, we'll see race 2, and it'd be nice to do the same again, get some more podium credits. Big credit to the team as well. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Okay, Tommy, we'll let you go to the podium. Well done. That's our race 1 winner here at Oulton Park. Tommy Hill on the Swan Yamaha. He makes his way up to the podium, and Jack will take us through it.
So Tommy Hill there, burying a few gremlins here at Oulton Park, where he crashed out and lost the championship at the end of last season. The speedy fastest lap league table then. Shaky Byrne on 5 points. Tommy Hill now moves 4. Kianari on 3. John Kirkham on 2. Michael Laverty has 1. Michael Rutter delighted but not best pleased about that third place in terms of the behaviour of the marshals, the staff, and any possibility of a red flag. He wasn't too chuffed with conditions there. Jakob Olsen from MC Insurance presenting the trophies. First to Rutter for third place on the Ducati. Second place for a well-chuffed Josh Brooks, pleased to bring that bike home in one piece this time. And then the guy who finished third in the championship last year, Tommy Hill, is lying third in the championship right now. Not dominating the same way he did last season. That's probably better for it, really, and also setting the fastest lap in truly dominant fashion. And just as James Whittam hinted, he was comfortable at that speed and didn't want to be slowed down.
It's in for race 2, but straight up.
After the victory of Round7.
26-year-old Tommy Hill from Lingfield in Surrey, who rode his first pretty superbike race at Silverstone in 2004. There's his team boss, Sean Muir, enjoying that moment, and that ensures that Tommy's right in the mix for the championship showdown. And on his right-hand side there, left a picture, Josh Brooks pretty happy as well with that result for Relentless by Taz Suzuki. The podium credits then, 16 apiece for Tommy Hill and Shaky Byrne at the top of the table, 15 for John Hopkins, 8 for Yuichi Kianari, Stuart Easton on 5, Michael Laverty and Josh Brooks on 4 apiece, John Kirkham and Michael Rutter on 3 each, Peter Hickman on 2, Tommy Bridewell on 1.
Well, there we go then. That's the first MCE British Superbikes race of the day out of the way here at Oulton Park. We're now going to Donington for the second World Touring Car Championship race. Straight after that, we will be back here at Oulton in pit lane. So make sure you stay with us for plenty more two-wheel action when we return.